uninhabitable.
It's not very inviting, so I'll give it a miss.
In Wales, I get excited too early.
Having mentioned downstairs that there wasn't any damp, and I've got egg on my face because there is clearly quite a lot of it.
And in Kent, Dion notices something's a bit off.
From the outside, it's slightly bowed and needs attending to ASAP.
All these properties have been sold at auction, and we'll find out who bought them and what they paid for them when they went under the hammer.
Yes, we are.
We're in Skegby, a village within the market town of Sutton in Ashfield, Nottinghamshire, home to what was the largest sundial in Europe. Surrounded by lots of amenities and transport links, it's a great place to pick up an auction property, and Dion's here to see our first lot.
I am on a residential estate in Skegby. I'm here to see a semi-detached house that has 2 beds and went to the auction with a guide price of just £45,000. Location-wise, we've got a park right there. Perfect for a game of footy, but it's far too hot for me today. I'll leave it. First impressions, the garden is overgrown and needs some attention. By the way, that low guide price of £45,000, there's a reason for that. I'll tell you what it is just a bit later. Now, I've been in some overgrown back gardens in my time. This one actually might just go to the top of the chart. I can't even see where the boundaries are. I don't know how big it is, and I don't know how deep it goes. There's a fair amount of work that needs to be done in here. I'm shuffling around just to try and get to the back door. Now, that low guide price of £45,000, there's a reason for that. This house has had an extensive water leak, which has left the house unsafe for us to go in. In fact, the council have placed a prohibition order on this house, which means it's not safe for human habitation. Have a look at this. We have got exposed pipes, we've got exposed joists, wires. There's a lot of rubbish that's been left in here as well. And it's not very inviting, so I'll give it a miss. Let's close the door.
Yes, a wise move, Dion. I wouldn't fancy going in there either. And the council obviously agreed. If they inspect a property and find it not fit for human habitation, they will put a prohibition order in place. For any prospective new buyer, this is likely to have an effect on the mortgageability of the house, so it's probably best suited to a cash buyer. Not that anyone here could really follow our main golden rule of making sure you take a good look inside the property. But that doesn't mean you can't still do some research.
Now, if you are in a situation where you've found a property but you cannot get inside to have a look around, it's still worth going to have a look, find out what surrounds the property, find out how much it's going to cost for you to put that light, peer through the windows, see what you can see. Do a bit of research on how much property is worth within the area, ceiling prices, even knock on the neighbour's door. They might give you some information you didn't know about. They might even let you in to have a look at the layout. It might be the same layout in here. You never know. Hope for the best, expect the worst, and then you won't be out of pocket. We know there's a lot of work that needs to be done on the inside. There's even more work that needs to be done on the outside. You have got a path you can't quite see, and you've got 2 big pieces of grassed area here which are totally overgrown. And I have noticed as well that already in place we have a drop curb here as well. So there's the option, I would have thought, taking this fencing out and creating a little bit of off-street parking on that part of your front garden, which is always handy on a residential estate.
Off-road parking is often a good idea if you can make it work with a property. As well as the convenience, it can add value. But you do need to factor in the cost of creating a driveway, and that generally doesn't come cheap. So it will come down to what the new owner intends to do with the property and if it's a viable option. We asked along an expert from the auction house that sold this property to get his views and valuations.
So the house is of traditional build. It looks nice and solid. On the outside, Inside, there is a prohibition order. There has been some significant damage that has made the house uninhabitable. In my attempt to inspect the property, I've popped my head through the door, I've had a look through the windows, I've tried to glean as much as I can, and when you look inside, it is in a state of disrepair. So there are lots of buckets capturing water. Obviously, the ceilings have caved in. There might be holes in the roof. Obviously, there's lots of exposed wiring, and it does appear that the majority of the staircase has been water damaged and has disintegrated.
Does the expert think there are any advantages to a situation like this?
So the good advantage with this property is, because the inside needs completely remodelling, it does open an avenue of all different manner of things that you could do to the property. If it was me looking at this, you'd completely gut it, take it back to brick. You could possibly even look at an extension like some of the other houses in the neighbourhood have done. So there's lots of opportunities, so it's not that negative.
Well, that's one way to look at it. But before any work begins on the property, the expert suggests contacting the council to find out the ins and outs of the prohibition order, as well as any safety protocols that should be followed due to the poor condition of the property. Fast forward to when all the renovations are complete, what would the potential returns be?
Once renovated on its current footprint, I'd be looking at the property to be worth in the region of £135,000 to £140,000. If the budget did allow for an extension where we could add possibly a kitchen diner and an additional bedroom, I'd be looking at the value to be in the region of £160,000 to up to £165,000.
And what about on the rental market?
Once the property is renovated, we'd be looking to achieve somewhere in the region of £600 per calendar month. And if the property was fortunate enough to have an extension, we could push that boundary up to about £675 per calendar month.
As you can see, there's lots of work that needs to be done on the outside, and due to that water leak, which would have caused so many problems in there, to the plumbing, to the electrics, to everything, this is definitely a strip out, strip back to bare brick and go from scratch. It's not one for the faint-hearted. Let's find out who wanted to take it on when it went under the hammer.
This lot was part of a remote auction with bids taking place online.
Yes, we are. That's yours.
The successful bid of £94,500 was made by Saeed and his business partner Rob. They have 20 years of experience in the property world, and you might recognise Saeed from when he was on the show before, when the pair took on a damp and dated semi-detached property in Eastwood and renovated it to add to their rental portfolio. What are Saeed's plans for this new project?
Saeed, good to see you again.
You too?
Are you well?
Yes, very well, thanks.
And business is going well as well?
Yes, yeah, we're keeping busy.
You've got yourself a difficult project to be getting on with, though.
That'll be Rob's fault, my business partner.
He found it?
Yes, he found it. We couldn't see the inside of it either, so we didn't really know what we were getting.
OK. Thoughts?
Well, it's a mess. I didn't realise how bad it was, but it's nothing that can't be dealt with.
Yeah, you've dealt with situations like this before?
We've dealt with worse before, yeah.
OK. And what's the first thing then? Tell us, when you attack a project like this, what's the first thing you're going to do? Just
making space to get in and out, really. That's the main thing. I didn't realise there's so much stuff in there. Did not realise that. So the first thing to do is going to clear out all the front and the back, get some skips in and just get everything skipped out. Everything out and find out what you can do. Find out what you're working with, I suppose. And then find out what the actual real problems are. Exactly. I'm starting all the negatives here. You might have sussed this out. Yeah. There's a prohibition order on the property as well. Yes, I didn't realise that until I sent the legal pack to the solicitors. I realised what it was, read through it. But it didn't seem that bad, to be honest with you. OK. So nothing's really worrying you at the moment? No, not at all, no. We own a property maintenance company anyway, so we'll be doing all the work ourselves. All right. What was the initial thought for buying the property in the first place? Well, are you selling it or renting it? No, we have a property company as well that we're building up for ourselves, but really for the kids, so that they can spend it all. So they just sit back and relax, and then... Yeah, pretty much. Dad just sorts them out at the end. Yeah. That's our job, isn't it? That's our job. Generally what happens. Yeah. So, yeah, tell us, once you've cleared out,
you got to... I know you can't even... I've got to say, you've got to knocking down walls because, you know, you don't even know what's in there at the moment, do you?
No, from what I can see, you've got the big living room and a kitchen downstairs. We will be stripping it all down. I think we're going to have to start from scratch, put new heating in, rewire the whole place, board it, plaster it. The outside and the roof seem fine, so that's kind of a bonus for us.
OK.
But other than that, I think it should be... It's doable.
Saeed and his partner Rob have given themselves a healthy budget of $35,000, along with a 6-month timescale to get the property ready for letting. They're confident the project will run smoothly, as they have a skilled team who they will send in to carry out the work. Fingers crossed there are no more surprises once they've fully investigated the house.
So, 6 months' time, we come back. Nice front garden.
Be brand new.
Not yet, it'll be brand new.
Yeah.
Will you try and create some parking at the front, maybe, or...?
I did look at that, but then that's an extra cost.
OK.
So we're going to see how the budget goes. If we have enough left in it, then we will do the parking at the front. If we don't, then we'll leave that for a couple of years. Well,
listen, I wish you all the best. I'm sure you'll get it over the line. We'll see you in about 6 months' time.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
See you.
So Saeed has got his work cut out with this project, but he's blaming business partner Rob for finding it in the first place. Have no fear, that team of builders will be in here and turn this place around in no time. But will it be within that 6-month timescale? You can find out how they get on later in the programme.
To South Wales now and the picturesque village of Georgetown, just outside the town of Tredegar. Well, the property I'm here to see is set high up on the side of the valley, which is wonderful, because you get views over to the other side. Really quite pleasant. No parking specifically in front of the property, but just round the corner is somewhere where you can stick your car. I'm here to see this. It is a 2-bed, mid-terrace, guide price £30,000. For that kind of money, I guess you can say your expectations fairly low, but you walk through the door and it's OK. I mean, it doesn't smell damp necessarily. It looks like it's been relatively recently decorated. Front living room there with some nice views by the look of it, out across the valleys. Again, needs some refurbishment. But then straight away, bit of a Brucey bonus. Look at the size of this kitchen. OK, the units are old and dated and, you know, whatever, but nice views out the back as well. And what's that down there? OK, that's a kind of traditional style. You've got a bathroom there, which I guess is the only one of the property. So what is the only thing we're missing so far? I don't know. The answer could be through here. It's the stairs. So up here, and 2 really, really good-sized bedrooms. One at the back, massive double, and another massive double at the front. Now, before I get on to some obvious sort of elephants in the room, there's enough space here for you to potentially reconfigure, and I reckon potentially squeeze in. That's two potentially is too soon together. I know, don't write in, please. Yeah, and the potential... Oh, God, that's 3. Stop it. Stop saying the word potential. That's 4. I'm going to carry on without saying the P word. Anyway, whatever. There is scope for creating 3 bedrooms, or maybe to put an ensuite in each bedroom would be brilliant. And there's enough space. Now, the elephant that we talked about earlier is this. In both bedrooms upstairs here, having mentioned downstairs that there wasn't any damp, and I've got egg on my face because there is clearly quite a lot of it, especially here. Now, it's obviously nearer the roof, no kidding, because we're on the first floor. Therefore, my guess is there's something going wrong with the roof, and it's causing penetrating damp, which is all around here. It's all around in there. Easily solved, I think, by sorting out the roof, and then your problems will go away. And if there's one thing this property has proven that it certainly has, you know.
Stay has potential. Stay has potential.
Well, back downstairs and off the kitchen, I mentioned it earlier, this is the bathroom and shower. It's the only one we now know. That was kind of predictable. I mean, you've got this little utility area here. And you know what, with the big kitchen, you've got enough space to have your dishwasher, washing machine, dryer there. This is, as far as I'm concerned, the bit that's really letting this house down. And it would be so easy to take out this wall. If you felt you needed another little door in between the kitchen and the toilet, you could have the toilet separately in its own little area, but you'd still have enough room for a really decent-sized bathroom. So I think in terms of sorting this house out, this is where a lot of my efforts would be. And then, really, you know, apart from just modernising it a bit, it's a great house. A great house with a great sounding guide price of just £30,000. OK, it will require a decent-sized budget to get it back up to scratch, but like I said earlier, it has huge No, I promised I wouldn't say that again. It has huge promise. What about outside? Well, at the back of the property, you come onto this really large area of what I can only make out is common ground. Something your solicitor would definitely need to check out is what is owned by the property, because next door's got a garden that comes to this point here, but this one has just got this sort of, well, I don't know, this grassland area, so I really don't know. That needs to be checked out. It'll be on the deeds. But while I'm here, and not only can you see the great views across the valley again, but the roof, it doesn't look to be in too bad condition, to be honest, but the guttering definitely looks like it could do with a bit of attention, so that might be causing those problems. But you know what? All in all, for a property that's £30,000 guide price, it's pretty darn good. So, what will someone who's familiar with the area think of this lot? We've asked along a local estate agent so they can cast their expert eye over this property.
It's got good bones. It's obviously in need for renovation. I think a little bit of jigging around with the layout it will be required, but I think it's a fantastic little opportunity for someone.
What about the only bathroom being downstairs?
I'm a Valley boy, as you can tell, born and bred. I grew up in a house with a downstairs bathroom. A lot of us did. It's the norm, because these houses, originally when they were built, would have had outside toilets. So the cheapest option for a lot of people 20, 30 years ago was to add single-storey extensions on. So it's not really frowned upon. There'll always be a small part of the market that will want an upstairs bathroom, but it's not really going to hinder any sale or potential tenant taking the property.
How much would he estimate the property could be worth on the sales market?
Once renovated, considering the amazing market conditions at the moment, will be anywhere in the region of £90,000.
And if it were to go to the rental market?
Once renovated, this property will rent for £500 per calendar month.
Well, obviously, a bit of damp to sort out, but I don't think that's too much of an issue, and obviously some internal modifications, especially that loo downstairs. But a great price. Let's see what it went for when it went under the hammer. This lot was part of a remote auction with bids taking place online.
Yours.
Paying £51,000 was Matt. And he's no stranger, as he's been again.
You too, yes.
You've been on the show before, but it was Martel you met last time.
I have, yes, indeed.
Why did you want to buy this specific house?
I'm from the area. I've lived in the area before. I know the area really, really well. We actually rent a property out just down the road.
Oh, right.
The rental income's really good. Nice area, close schools. So yeah, I seen it come up and here we are.
Tell me what you're going to do to sort it out then.
We're going to strip it right back, do a complete gut on it, new kitchen, new bathroom, tidy the garden up, sort the damp out like you said, and then hopefully rent it out.
Yeah, when you say new bathroom, let's just dwell on that a second. What are you going to do to the bathroom?
But there is a wall in there, I think it's a partitioned wall, so hopefully that can come down and we can extend the bathroom and make it a lot bigger.
So in other words, get rid of the utility room?
Yeah,
effectively.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I hope you do. And new kitchen, so what's the plans in here then?
It's a lovely big kitchen, so obviously we want to keep that space. Brand new kitchen, maybe a a small dining table or a breakfast bar.
And then what about upstairs? You've got 2 massive bedrooms.
Potentially split one and make it into a 2 and then have a 3-bed, if possible, depending on the work. But yeah, there's a lot of room to play with.
If he is able to create a 3rd bedroom upstairs, then that could possibly lead to a bit more rental income, but it would add to the budget. Speaking of which...
Any idea of the budget for the work?
I'm hoping around 10 to 15.
OK.
Yeah.
And that's with the builder doing it?
Yes.
A builder you know well?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know him well, yeah.
He's a good bloke.
He's
I mean,
a good guy, yeah.
That's a limited budget.
As I say, he's my mate, so hopefully he'll look after me.
Okay. What do you think is causing the damp upstairs?
I'm hoping is the guttering and fascias and lack of ventilation.
Right.
I'm hoping.
Right. What do you know about the garden?
Honestly?
Yes.
Not a lot.
Oh.
Well, there's a line going all the way up to the garden. I'm hoping that's going to be the garden and we're going to try and fence it off.
Did it not show in the deeds?
No.
Really?
I don't think so.
You don't know, do you? You're fibbing me. You haven't seen them, have you?
Yeah.
So what's the timescale on sorting it out?
I'd like to say 12 weeks.
OK.
12 weeks.
Obviously, time is money.
Time is money, yeah. Exactly. Get a return on it, yeah.
No parking, but obviously space around the corner. Not too much of an issue, really.
Well, we own the opposite. There's like a shed and things.
Yeah.
So, depending on cost, of course. Hopefully we'll knock a wall down and use that as a carport or a car space.
Right.
Potentially, so that could be a real selling point then as well.
Well, listen, good luck with it.
Thank you very much, Martin.
We look forward to seeing how you get on.
Cheers, thank you.
Well, Matt's really got himself a good little property here, and once he figures out actually where the garden goes to, it could be even more of an amazing purchase. How will he get on sorting it out? It's a tight budget. You can find out later in the show.
Still to come, in Kent, Dion sees a lot that was once a church.
I wasn't expecting it to look like this. I was expecting it to be more a bit churchy, but it's not.
And in Wales, things weren't straightforward for Matt.
The damp was a nightmare to get rid of. That's taken us months to sort out.
Time now to head back to the village of Skegby in Nottinghamshire and this 2-bed semi-detached property that had a guide price of just £45,000. But there was a reason for that.
This house has had an extensive water leak, which has left the house unsafe for us to go in. In fact, the council have placed a prohibition order on this house, which means it's not safe for human habitation. Have a look at this. We have got exposed pipes, we've got exposed joists, wires. There's a lot of rubbish that's been left in here as well. And it's not very inviting, so I'll give it a miss. Let's close the door.
Looking past the negatives, there were a few positives too. One being the fact that the property already had a dropped curb, meaning there was the option to take the front fence out to create parking in the front garden. Yes, a lot of work needed to be carried out, but it had potential. And the successful buyers who decided to take on this mammoth task were Saeed and his business partner Rob. They bought the lot for $94,500, but I don't think they quite knew what they were letting themselves in for.
It's a mess. I didn't realise how bad it was, but it's nothing that can't be dealt with.
Yeah, you've dealt with situations like this before.
We've dealt with worse before, yeah.
Saeed and Rob own a property maintenance company, so they were confident they could bring this place back to life. And to do it, they had a budget of $35,000 and a timescale of 6 months. Well, now we're back, 13 months later, to see what's been going on. Well, we can actually at least see the house now. and Rob to fill us in on how the renovation has gone.
When we first had the keys, we were shocked because you couldn't actually move in the property at all. There was a bad leak, there was no stairs in the property, they'd fallen through. And it was full, wasn't it?
We could not move inside.
Rob and Saeed hadn't viewed the property beforehand or read the legal pack, so they weren't aware of the prohibition order. But thankfully, identifying the source of the leak and fixing it was relatively straightforward and not too costly. This then allowed them to get on with sorting out the rest of the house.
With rental properties, two of the main things you've got to make sure is your electric and gas. So one of the major things is we had the gas central heating totally redone with a new boiler, as well as the electrics. We had that fully inspected. There were certain parts of the electrics we had to replace, and we had to update the meter, etc., just to bring it to current standards.
Rob and Saeed anticipated and budgeted for doing a lot of work on the property, including completely replacing the staircase in the house and replacing the roof. But as it turned out, the roof and guttering were fine. The renovation was carried out by a team of tradesmen who Rob and Saeed have connections with through their property maintenance company. But when it came to the front and back garden, it was actually the current tenant who got stuck in.
With the gardens, we already had the tenant in place. He was upgrading from a flat to the house. Because we didn't finish the gardens, he wanted to move in beforehand, and the agreement was he will do the front and back gardens, which he's done a really good job on. And we're charging slightly less rent anyway for him because he's been a tenant of ours for many years.
Saeed and Rob's original budget was $35,000, but in the end they only spent around $25,000, which is fantastic. But they have let their timescales slip. It's been 13 months since our first visit.
Yeah, when we bought this property, we bought it where we was at a really busy time. So for 9 months, the actual property stood still. So when we did start actually at the property, it only took us 3 months from start to finish.
So all in all, the pair are happy with this project, but will that still be the case once they've heard some values? We asked back the expert from the auction house who sold the property to find out his thoughts on the transformation.
Oh my goodness. Wow, when I came here last time, what an absolute mess. We weren't allowed inside the property, but the little glimpses that I got through the window, it was devastating. Come back, it's really, really homely, it's cosy. You know, we've done everything to the property and we're actually allowed inside this time, so it's really, really nice that we can do that. But it's a really cosy, really sort of nice property in a lovely, quiet area, and I think it's really good what I can see today.
The expert thinks it will be beneficial to create some off-road parking to the front of the property and have the rear garden landscaped. But with the property as it is, what could it achieve on the rental market?
My valuation for the rental market would be somewhere in the region of £800 per calendar month.
That's what we thought. I mean, we were getting tenants who wanted to pay that, but we gave it to an existing tenant who we charged less than that for. We only charged him £700 a month. Because it was an existing tenant.
The pair have spent a total of $119,500, including the purchase price, so the £700 per calendar month they will be getting from their tenant will give them a yield of around 7%. But out of curiosity, how much could this property achieve on the sales market?
If I was going to put this property on the sales market, as it is today, I'd be looking at a valuation of £160,000.
That's a bit higher than we thought.
Yeah, a little bit higher than what we thought.
Yeah.
We thought about the 140 to 150.
Yeah, we did, yeah.
So, yeah, very good news.
This would result in a potential pre-tax profit of around $40,500. And although Rob and Saeed have gone down the rental route, it's good to know what the potential profit could be if they ever decided to sell. Now this one's wrapped up, will they be venturing back to the auction anytime soon?
We're always actively looking. If anything comes up that we like, we'll get it and then start again. So it's the same process. We'll get to a point where we've had enough, then we'll just stop, and the kids will probably enjoy it more than we will.
Definitely, definitely.
We're in Kent, a few miles away from the cliffs of Dover, where in 2019, Dion saw a property which was of special historical significance, nestling behind an old church.
I'm here to see an intriguing lot, this one. Used to be stables, more recently it's been a church, and now it's gone to auction with a guide price of £125,000 to £130,000. This one I'm very interested in. Now, as I come through the door, it's not what I was expecting. White walls, and you've got a room here to the left, nice old sort of stone wall there. I can see, though, in the corner that the ceiling's kind of dropped. Maybe there's been a leak in the corner. And then you've got this kind of kitchenette area as you come through the door, somewhere to put your coats and cupboards and stuff. And then you come through into the main area. And I wasn't expecting it to look like this. I was expecting it to be more a bit churchy, but it's not. It kind of feels like a hall. Obviously, it was a church and it was used as a church, but it's a nice sized room, don't get me wrong, nice. It's long and it's thin, and it's kind of dark in here as well because the windows are quite small, and I can see that the trees and the ivy has been growing up against the windows as well, so the light is restricted getting in here. Good sized room. What could you do with it? Options are open.
The property was a blank canvas, both downstairs and up, where there was a large roof space. But it was in need of serious repair, as was the gable end wall.
From the outside, it's slightly bowed and needs attending to ASAP. Safety, safety, safety first.
The wall needed to be assessed by a structural engineer to investigate the cause of the bowing and to find a solution to stop it giving way.
What can you do with a building like this now? Well, in the auction catalogue it says you could apply for residential right here. But remember, this is a building of special historical significance, which I think might pose a few more questions, a little bit more red tape to get through, but I think it'd be worth it.
So there was potential for complications when it came to planning. The local authority would have to assess the building's historic, cultural and archaeological significance. But with a floor space of over 75 square metres, there was a lot of room to play with and a lot of character.
This is an unusual and unique project. It's just a shell at the moment. But if you could get some residential planning, I think you could turn this into a really nice home. Let's find out who wanted to take it on when we're under the hammer.
Unfortunately, our cameras missed the bidding on this lot.
Third and final time, if you're sure you're all done and out, sold it.
But it was bought by John, who paid £120,000. He was joined by his builder Melvin when they met up with Dion to discuss their plans.
Melvin, nice to meet you.
And you.
John, nice to meet you too.
Thank you.
Congratulations. So what was this bought for, John? Why did you want this?
Well, I was thinking of downsizing.
Oh, for you?
Yes, for me, yeah.
OK, and what did you have in mind as soon as you knew this was up for auction? What did you think?
Well, something unusual, as a church is adjacent to a 12th century church.
And when you came to visit this, or to view it, should I say, what were you thinking in your head? Were you seeing things, how it could be? And
I was seeing things, yes. I could see it had potential. The viewing was restricted because of health and safety upstairs and things like that. But I did miss one or two things.
Oh, did you? Please tell us what you missed, John.
Well, Melvin came along afterwards, after I purchased the building. He came with me to the viewing, but he didn't spot what I spotted afterwards. But the end building has a couple of faults and the wall will have to come down.
OK.
But
Okay.
that's Melvin's project, not mine.
Yeah, exactly, yes.
It'd be no problem.
Be no problem?
No. So we're going to pull out the whole wall, put a big window and rebuild the flint work on each side of it.
So, Melvin, just describe to us, start at the bottom. Where's everything going to go?
OK, so it's going to be an upside-down house, so bedrooms are all downstairs. There'll be a shower room, that corner, bedroom, 2 more bedrooms there, another bedroom at the back with an ensuite at the back, stairs against the wall, and then upstairs we have a kitchen with a little balcony outside, step up to a little dining room, then the lounge completely, and a little study at the very back.
That's pretty cool, that.
Yeah.
I like that. And you're going to have a balcony?
Little balcony at the back.
That'd be nice.
Off the kitchen.
Is that a balcony that you can walk out onto?
Yes.
Yes.
Juliet?
Yes.
Oh, proper balcony.
Walk out on.
Wow, the views
From the
will
kitchen.
Yeah.
be amazing.
It will be.
Yeah, it will be.
So, John, have you taken on anything like this before?
Not like this, but I have taken on building a house, my own, the house I live in at present, an old Saxon longhouse. But nothing as in-depth as this, nothing quite as challenging, so to speak.
Or as interesting.
Or as interesting, quite right, yeah.
This renovation was going to be quite the challenge, but as John was a sculptor, he, more than most, would have the creativity and the vision to make the most of this unique property.
I do, I've got several sculptures. I've got some on the main street in Middleton in Cork. I've got them around the place.
And reference to sculptures, any sculptures going to be about?
Oh, yes, I always keep sculptures in the house, minimum 6.
What if you don't get planning?
If I don't get planning, this would make an excellent studio.
How much have you got to spend on this?
I estimated from information from Melvin, 175. So I think that might go to 200.
So, Melvin, how long is it going to take you to turn this place around into John's home?
That's right. Well, we're thinking it's going to be about 1.5 years.
So on paper, it sounded like John had a healthy budget to complete the work, and, well, Melvin had a lot to do. And when we returned 2 years later to check on progress... there was quite the transformation. The outside wall had been repaired, and instead of having a door to nowhere, it now led to a beautiful balcony, complete with spiral staircase. Inside, the 4 new bedrooms and 3 bathrooms had been started, but they still needed to be decorated, flooring added, and for the electrics to be finished. Upstairs, there was also still a bit of work to do, but the loft was taking shape. It now had a very modern open-plan living room and a new kitchen. John had planned for this to be a family home, but there was still quite a lot of work to do, and the work that had been done so far hadn't come cheap.
I've just gone way over budget. With the purchase, materials, I would say I've spent £370,000 to date. I will probably spend 400.
So John had spent £250,000 on the work here, which meant that he was already 50 grand over his initial budget. Rebuilding the wall outside had pushed the budget up. But as planned, Melvin had done the majority of the work so far, and John's niece, Fiona, had been helping him with the design and decoration. So, when would the work finally be complete, and how much would the renovation of this historic building end up costing? Well, stay tuned, and you can find out later in the show.
Earlier we saw the conclusion of our first property, but what about the other 2?
Yes, have they stuck to their timescales and budgets? Let's find out. It's time to head back to South Wales and the village of Georgetown, where I saw this 2-bed mid-terrace that had a guide price of just £30,000. For that kind of money,
I guess you can set your expectations fairly low, but you walk through the door and it's okay. I mean, it doesn't smell damp necessarily. It looks like it's been relatively recently decorated. Front living room there with some nice views by the look of it, out across the valleys. Again, needs refurbishment. But then, straight away, bit of a Brucey bonus. Look at the size of this kitchen.
The property also came with a utility room, bathroom and 2 good-sized bedrooms upstairs, though these did have signs of damp, the source of which needed to be identified and remedied. There was also a large garden, though it wasn't clear where it started and ended. But this spacious home was bursting with potential, and the successful bidder who agreed was Matt. He had featured on the show before, and he was pleased with his new purchase.
I'm from the area, I've lived in the area before, I know the area really, really well. We actually rent a property out just down the road.
Oh, right.
The rental income's really good, nice area, close schools. So yeah, seen it come up and here we are.
Matt planned to carry out a full refurb on the property as well as a few layout changes. He wanted to remove the wall between the bathroom and utility room to create a larger bathroom and potentially reconfigure the walls upstairs to squeeze in a 3rd bedroom. He had a budget of 10 to 15,000 and a timescale of 12 weeks. Now we've returned a year and 4 months later to see how he's got on. At the front, Matt has knocked down the outbuilding, and in its place he's put in a driveway, creating some handy off-road parking. Inside, everything had to be stripped right back to brick and started from scratch. New windows and doors have been fitted throughout the property, along with a full rewire and new plumbing. A new modern and stylish kitchen has been installed. Matt was successful in knocking down the wall between the bathroom and utility room to create one large bathroom. It looks amazing. Upstairs, Matt was also successful in reconfiguring the layout to fit in 3 bedrooms. The house is looking fab and much better than before. As for the back garden, it turns out it wasn't on the paperwork for the house, so a lot of time has been spent trying to sort that out. Matt has put up a fence along the boundary, and a plan is in motion to get it into his possession. So it hasn't all been plain sailing. Here's Matt to fill us in on the other issues that arose during the renovation.
I thought the wiring was okay, and of course when we stripped it back we needed a full rewire, so that's an added expense. The damp was a nightmare as well to get rid of. That's taken us months to sort out with hacking walls off, replastering, rendering. I'm always a little bit ambitious on my targets and goals. Bought the property last year and I was hoping, 12, 14 weeks. And I mean, that's been absolutely, in near that time scale. But we've got here in the end.
You have indeed, and it's been well worth the wait, as everything looks fantastic. It's clear the work has been done to a high standard. What were Matt's thoughts behind the finish?
So, yeah, gone for a really high spec. I think that's just in my personality and the kind of way I like. I've done all my properties to a similar sort of high standard. It attracts different calibre of tenant or buyers. I just like the nice, clean, modern finish. And I just like doing things to a really high standard.
The work has been done with Matt's vision in mind as he project managed the renovation. But the work itself was carried out by various tradespeople. His timescale might have slipped, but how did his budget of £10,000 to £15,000 fare?
as it stands, we're about the 40 to 45,000 pound mark.
Oof, he's ended up going over the budget by around £30,000. What was the reason for the extra spending?
As you can see, the spec of the house is really, really high end, so that did tip the budget over a little bit. And as we was going along, when we decided to make a 2-bed into a 3-bed, of course, that's extra expense. The cost of materials has gone crazy at the moment. And as with trades as well, you know, it was just adding up and adding up, but never mind.
Well, Matt seems pleased with the outcome of the project. Now that it's finished, are his plans still to rent it out?
Yeah, so we are going to put it up on the rental market. I think with the spec that we've done the house in, we could attract a really good rental income. So that's what we're going to be doing with it.
I think it's time we heard from the estate agent who viewed the lot last time to get his thoughts on the transformation here.
What they've done has been fantastic. Everything that we said that they needed to do, in all fairness, they've gone out and implemented that. So yeah, it's lovely to see. I think something like this will fly off for sale or for let.
That takes us nicely onto values. What could this house now be worth on the sales market?
On the open market, they're currently looking between £110,000 and £120,000.
That's great, yeah, really good.
If Matt ever did decide to sell, he could be looking at a potential pre-tax profit of between £14,000 and £24,000. But since his plans are to rent the property, we better get those rental figures.
For rental, the market's increased since my last visit, so he'd currently achieve around £700 per calendar month.
I think that's amazing. I think I was looking at about £5 or £550 when I first bought it. Coming back into the property now, mind, I do think £657, so I think the estate agent is spot on there, but really happy with our rental income, yeah.
A great outcome, and that would give Matt a yield of over 8%. So now it's done and dusted, how is Matt feeling?
Yeah, I was really proud of all the the touches, a nice kitchen. Yeah, it really has been a long journey, but really proud of where we've finished.
We're back to Kent now, and a few miles away from the cliffs of Dover, where back in 2019...
I feel like I've been here before, and somebody changed the clocks.
Dion saw a unique lot that was part of an old church and had a guide price of between $125,000 and $130,000.
I wasn't expecting it to look like this. I was expecting it to be more a bit churchy, but it's not. It kind of feels like a hall. Obviously, it was a church and it was used as a church, but good-sized room. What could you do with it? Options are open.
A large roof space above also offered potential, but it was unsafe to view because of quite a big problem.
From the outside, it's slightly bowed and needs attending to ASAP. Safety, safety, safety first.
Someone who knew what to do with this lot was John, who paid £120,000 for it at auction. His trusted builder, Melvin, was going to do the work.
What did you have in mind as soon as you knew this was up for auction? What did you think?
Well, something unusual. As a church is adjacent to a 12th century church.
Start at the bottom. Where's everything going to go?
OK, so it's going to be an upside-down house, so bedrooms are all downstairs. And then upstairs we have a kitchen with a little balcony outside. Step up to a little dining room, then the lounge completely, and a little study at the very back.
John planned to convert this property, which was of special historical significance, into a home for him and his family, with 4 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. His original timescale was 18 months, and he had a budget of up to $200,000. And when we returned 2 years later, John had made progress. The wall outside had been repaired. But everything still needed those final touches to make it John's new family home. It had not only taken longer than expected, but it had also been more expensive, as John was 50 grand over his initial budget. Now we're back nearly 3 years since our first visit to see the end result. And John has made sure that the house makes a good first impression.
Well, since you last saw it, we've gravelled this area, and the posts delineating the boundary are the same oak as in the balcony.
The wood here was sourced from a local mill, and the spiral staircase was rescued from an old railway station, which John has beautifully restored. Inside, it now feels like a warm and inviting home. Downstairs, there are 4 new bedrooms, as John has always intended for the layout of this house to be upside-down living.
The stage you were at last time was possibly 60% completed. There was a lot of exposed walls. That took time.
2 of the bedrooms share a Jack and Jill bathroom. But John is particularly proud of the separate family bathroom.
It's got lovely Italian marble sides to it, and there's a feeling of just a lovely warm feeling. I know it's a silly thing to say, but for a wet room, but it is nice. Handmade tiles on the floor and things like that. You know, quality.
Upstairs, what was loft space is now a beautiful open-plan living room, which leads into the kitchen.
The kitchen itself is finished with high-quality units, handmade tiles to the floor, and as you see from here, it leads into the lounge, which has been completed to a very high spec. We have retained the beams from the old church building. We've used extremely expensive floor covering. As I say, we've finished everything in top quality.
The first floor also has another upstairs bathroom and a room which is currently set up to be used as a study. This renovation has taken 3 years to complete because of issues with connecting utilities, the local council and third-party builders. But now it's complete, John has given a new life and new purpose to this building, which is over 200 years old.
Boy, I'm gonna give you one more chance to make it right.
You come out onto the balcony, you see a 12th century church. You're walking in our history. That's very important indeed.
Although the house is currently not being lived in, John is still planning to share his new home with his family, and his niece, Fiona, will hopefully move in the near future. John's made sure that everything in the house is high spec, which isn't cheap, so how much did he end up spending?
In total, I spent in excess of £400,000.
So, excluding the purchase price, John has spent around £280,000 on the renovation, £80,000 more than he'd initially planned. But is he happy with the end result?
Weighing it up, I'm delighted I did it. I've met lovely people. The people who, Melvin, the original builder, Fiona and I had great fun designing the interior. I've achieved the goal. I wouldn't do it again.
Well, time to see what a local estate agent thinks about the work carried out. We invited the agent who saw it last time to get their thoughts and valuations.
What stands out for me is the living accommodation upstairs. It looks over the churchyard and it's got the integrated kitchen which goes onto a balcony, so it gives it something special. I think they've pretty much got it as it should be. There's not really anything you can add to how well it's been designed, so all credit to the builder as such.
So John's trusted builder, Melvin, gets the thumbs up for an impressive job. Now the work's complete, what sort of figures could the property achieve on the rental market?
The rental he could ask for is £1,400 per calendar month.
That would be an annual pre-tax income of over £16,500. But rental isn't an option John is considering, as this is a new home for his family. But has it been a good investment?
The selling price for this property is a guide around £500,000.
Your estate agent's not far out, probably slightly on the low side.
John has spent around $400,000, and even if the agent's valuations are slightly lower than what John expected, that's still a pre-tax profit of $100,000. But for John, this project has not been for financial gain. What's next for him? Any more renovations in mind, or is he going back to his work as an artist?
No, I continue with my sculpting and things like that. I've got a few projects on the go. I've got a major project for a cathedral in Ireland at the moment. You know, I'm started and I'll be hidden away for the next year.
Well, as we've shown you, the world of property developing has its ups and its downs.
Yeah, some projects go to plan, others are quite challenging.
So we'll have lots more highs and lows for you next time here on Homes Under the Hammer.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Well, not for vegetarians. Meet the Italians who eat a lot of meat, especially pork. Lots of it. Press red to join Stanley Tucci searching for Italy now. Well, next, if you fall in love with an antique, buy it straight away. Stay with us for Bargain Hunt.